right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. One more game to go in this EU League Playday. Playday number 2, by the way, in stage 1 here, as we head to our final 1 out of the 5. Cowana versus Navi, a big hitter for all UK fans out there. A lot of UK fans that might be watching. There's over 70,000 people now watching on the mainstream. We'd like to welcome you all, old and new, to Rainbow Six Esports. It's a lot of fun. You'll get to see the best players in Europe competing against one another. And in this one, you got some of the old guard on Navi, with a lot of the newcomers from Cowana out of Challenger League, where you could actually compete. If you're watching right now, you want to make it into EU League, maybe you can play through CL. We might be seeing you in casting. Where are your games?
I too?
No, we need you here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're
it's always
our
been a dream,
robot.
but I always failed. Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't have dreams. I'm a robot.
So there you go. You,
No
you can
dreams
only
allowed for
get
you.
steer only get to stay here with us, and that's about it. Your dream is just seeing what Des will rant about next time. So let's talk
he went
about.
off.
He definitely did, actually.
Went on a roll like a Beyblade.
So let's have a chat about our teams. First of all, Navi. Let's bring the roster up on the screen. The old guard and their slight changes that have had to come in. Expectations for Navi may be recoverable, but middle of the board is maybe more reasonable.
Well, yes, right. They have been making changes over the past year multiple times, and due to the fact that they ended up on 5th place consistently, really, and that is something they want to get off of. They want to go to that top 4 position, and this has to be the roster that makes it happen. They have the firepower. The question now is, do they have the consistency?
And on the other side, still trying to build up their consistency. Let's just say they were off to a great start against Rogue in our last Playday. There they are, Cowana M. What can you tell us about these UK gunners?
They're cool cucumbers in a league format, Cowana. They are so solid when it comes down to seasons on their performance. They sometimes struggle in big tournaments and big pickups, but this is their game. This is where they play best. They're more than happy to toe-to-toe with anyone, as they proved in the opening week. And if there's anyone that they've toe-to-toed with a lot, well, it's Eminem. But second on that list is Navi, Natas Vincere, who are the constant kind of antagonists to their protagonist story, and very much, well, vice versa, over in the UKIN season. So this is going to be a bit of a bloodbath derby today.
All right, well, let's just put it out there. Our lobby is pretty much ready, so we're going to go through all of our graphics very quickly to get into game ASAP. First of all, our head-to-head. We'll see each one of you picked one player from each one of these 2 teams, and it's Sloth and Doki. Hap, can you please fill us in?
Okay, so look at the rating and KD ratio of Doki, and then you know basically why. But for serious, no, he really had he popped off during the last game, and he popped off like we know Doki can pop off. And the question now is he going to be able to keep that up? Is he going to be able to continue that form? Because we know he has it in him. He just needs to bring it out more consistently. And as soon as he starts doing that, Navi is going to be a team that you really have to be afraid to play against.
Sloth is Cavana's answer to a lot of big problems in a game that is led by frags. And last week, he was shut down on almost every single entrance attempt. If he is allowed to take control of a map, he's a man who infamously, in a game against another team on Villa, said, "I want them to fear me," and then got an ace on the opening round. If he is in that mindset and that space, he is tough to stop.
All right, definitely a lot of expectations on their backs. Again, our lobby's almost ready, so here's our map ban. We're going to go to Consulate again, and Navi is starting off on the defense. Does this make sense after that Chalet ban that we see from Navi app?
I mean, I think they just want to bring the gun fights on, right? And Chalet and Consulate are 2 of the maps that we see as highly aggressive. Coastline will be the 3rd one to go in there. Maybe Navi don't feel as comfortable yet onto Chalet, and they know that there's a lot at stake, because it's not just 3 points. It's also a bit of that national derby that's going on, right? You always see teams give a little bit extra. You see it with the French, you see it with the Russians, now also with the UK teams. I hope to see, at least, that they are going to be going all out. So Consulate, high frag potential map, as we've just seen, and earlier today as well. It's going to be an exciting one to watch.
It's United versus City. It's Arsenal v Chelsea. Fluke.
They're not staying in the building. They're throwing themselves out windows. It'll be like one round, okay, kind of aggressive. The second round, a little bit more aggressive. The third round, 80% of the firefights are happening outside the building. That is generally how the Yukon region plays Consulate. It's how Na'Vi do it. Sit back, put your feet up. Let's watch a frag fest.
It's going to be a lot of fun, hopefully so. Luke, thanks so much for your information. It's time for us to toss it back to our casters. Des and Ace await us for a UK banger. It's Cowana versus Na'Vi, and we go to Consulate. So prep yourselves. Let's go in game.
Thank you very much, Milosh. Ace, it feels like a game we're destined to cover, maybe on a cursed map, given all I said on the desk about 5 minutes ago. But this one, I'm sure, is going to be an absolute screamer. I always think back to the old ways of Eminem when I think of them. Again, a much changed roster now. I think Doki and Say is the only two that we really see persevering from that old roster. But the Consulate special was always their way. I'm keen to see how things shake down on a map this aggressive between these two, because there's always a bit of rivalry after the back and forth they've had during UKIN. They've both gone through a similar journey of going through UKIN to Challenger League to now being in Tier 1. It's fascinating to watch kind of two different generations of teams now collide over what's kind of common ground, I guess.
It really is, Des. There's one word and one word only that I know for a matchup like this, and that is that it's going to be a humdinger. That's where we're heading, and let's not forget these two teams played on this map, Des, just over a week ago. Now, they weren't the exact lineups. Kendry wasn't involved. Nath wasn't on the side of Na'Vi. However, it still finished 7-0 to Na'Vi. It was a big, big whitewash for them. So will that play into the mental at all? We'll have to see how quickly Cowana settle. I would expect not, to be fair. Both teams were playing with a coach, so it's very, very different now lining up here today. But still, those sorts of 7-0 results, they're going to stick with you, Des.
You'd think it would. You think it would. To go through these bands really quickly, as they have rifled through these. The Ashes to Sticker, the Thatcher and the Mute, which kind of counter each other out in a way anyway. And the Maestro being removed as the final one. Utility has been a big focus of some teams. We've seen some things like Valkyrie and Maestro bands coming out. That Mute band to me is the big one that I'm looking at as the difference maker, because the number of teams that have been playing things like Mute and Mozzie on the roam. Of course, Mute also helps you against Iana, who's become super popular at the minute, does obviously destroy her decoys. So in this spot, it kind of gives Iana a bit of free roam that she's kind of going to be able to go unimpeded unless she runs into an Aruni gate, or a laser gate, as you'd say. I love how often you've been ripped for that today. I think in both casts, with me and with Jess, like that has been a thing. I'm sorry.
It's getting ridiculous, Des. It's getting out of hand almost.
It's getting outrageous on this Playday, isn't it?
Oh, your day will come. Don't you worry, Des. Unfortunately, they've taken Theme Park out of the map pool now.
Mate, I orchestrated the whole thing. Why do you think that happened?
I'm limited. Heading into round number one then. Hopefully neither of these two teams will be limited, and they're going to come through here, give us 100% full force. We want to see these two absolutely wail on each other. We want to see a matchup for the ages here. I know everybody at home does as well, and honestly I can just feel it, Des. I think that's what we've got on the cards. Cowana versus Na'Vi, UK team versus UK team. There's a lot of history between these two. There's a lot riding on it. This one is for more than points in EUL. This is for pride as well. And these two teams, they're going to fight hard for it. Now, the first site that you're going to be seeing here tonight is Garage. We're going to be going all the way downstairs. And look at that. Doki is all the way at the absolute opposite end of the map on the Malusi. I think he's just showing his hand of exactly what we can expect from him out on the roam through this first defensive half for Na'Vi. And that is going to be some serious movement and aggression from the Flying Scotsman.
It's all about the pushing, and I think given the work that we saw on Doki last week on Chalet, he worked some magic. Absolutely tore train hard, a new one. I want to see if he retains the same aggression that we saw out of him then, gets the kind of kills that we've seen come out of him before. And this one, in case you're wondering, this ace being open up high is so you can see on the rappel here, Sloth gets into a spot to be able to contest just narrowly inside a Garage without putting himself too low. Puts himself in a good position, but sadly, you're coming up against what once upon a time would have been one hell of a terror of a setup. You've got the mirrors, you've got the Echo Yokais as well. I think a year ago, most teams would have just packed up and gone home if they'd seen that as the setup, to be honest.
I think at this point, if I saw Sloth on an upside down rappel on Carriage Breach, I'd pack up and go home. We'll see if he can get any joy from there. Na'Vi are not actually set up too badly to deal with that. They've got saves in there behind the mirror. His wall is reinforced, so he's reasonably safe, and he should be able to feed information out as to Sloth's location. So hopefully that's something that they can enjoy. But prepare for Sloth sitting on that angle for a period of time, and he will punish them if he's given even half a chance. And we have seen him do it time and time again. Saves just watching from a distance there, looking to see if he can get an angle onto anybody for the time being. It's just going to be a little bit of cat and mouse going on here. We've got Kendrew just dumping in a couple of the nades there from the Iana, looking to just clear out some of that utility to try and clear a path in towards that default plant spot now. Saves and Dorky still out on the roam. Dorky's got himself returned to site. He's just on those back Visa stairs. He's sort of poised to return if needs be, but still has the option to rotate away quickly. 50 seconds left to go. 5v5. Nobody spilling any early blood here.
That's what I was about to comment on as soon as you finished talking, was how surprised them at how not so much peaceful, because there have been bullets fired, and look how many damaged members there are. Finally, Doki springs into action and gets scored. Going before Blur is down a second later. They're now going in for the plant, but the Yokai is under the white van. That will be able to interrupt it, at least temporarily. But here comes Sloth. I think he still missed the Yokai being on the ground. Actually, with enough time left, this won't be enough of a worry. They haven't got away with this. He's all by himself. It's Nath alone. I don't think he's going to be able to stay alive and also interrupt this plant here. He's going to have to step off and make it happen all by himself. But Cowana are in a 1 versus 3. Unfortunately, Nath, maybe a bad time to get back on the drone when you're solo and the plant is down. That was a clean and easy round for Cowana, albeit a slow one.
Great start for Cowana there. I think Sloth's push. I tell you what, Desi. Actually, I watched the Cowana Road game back this morning, and there was something very, very reminiscent that's just happened in there that Sloth did extremely well on Cafe. I think it was round 5. It was the plant where they went into Kitchen. You know, they planted on the left-hand side of Kitchen by the reinforcement between Kitchen and Red Stairs. Well, there was a key moment that allowed that to happen, and it was Sloth just absolutely dashed through sight and got the kill onto the man that was playing double door. He had a peak hole opened up, so he could have prevented the plant, but Sloth just absolutely head through sight, got himself into the backside and took the man out, and he's just done exactly the same there. He's just got himself straight up to that cafeteria rotation and just interfered with the Na'Vi defense when they were trying to prevent that plant going down, whether it be by Yokai, whether it be by bullets, it doesn't matter. Sloth got in there and disrupted that attempt, and it was great movement and a great play from him. Magical aggression coming out of Cowana. Great first round, and a message has been sent there. We have got a game on our hands.
I know exactly the round that you're referencing as well, because I think against Rogue they had 3 players off site, which enabled Sloth to go that hyper aggressive where he could run half the length of Kitchen, kill the Aruni that was playing behind the reinforced wall, and suddenly both sides were in full control of Cowana. It was a little bit crazy, but that's what he does. And you know who it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of Citizen from G2. And in fact, on this map earlier on today, we saw just that. The number of times that they'd be going for a plant inside a garage, and he would charge his way up onto the staging area, look inside a cafe and kill 2 people was ridiculous. And you're going to get a very similar feel or vibe, I guess, coming out of Sloth in this game. What impact that's going to have and how we see Na'Vi adapt, that could be the difference maker in this game.
Sloth up on the rappel once again, this time looking in through those admin windows. So in round 2, the site that they will be attacking onto is Press and Lobby, which is the site that is completely housed in that mid-floor. So generally speaking, the attackers, they're going to want to go in and get top floor control, and then they can start to assert some vertical superiority, opening up the floorboards. There's plenty of vertical angles. As you can see, Blur's got himself established in meeting there, and he's going to hold on to that for as long as possible. But I'll tell you what, Gorgona won't be able to hold on to that rappel as Save shuts him down, and Nath deletes Grizzly with a nitro as the detonation reverberates through the server. And right now, Cowana, they are feeling the pain. Only a minute in, and it's up to Kendrew to start fighting back with a headshot onto Secretly. And this is exactly as predicted by our analysts. As they said, we were going to see a little bit of aggression, and then a little bit more, and then an all-out brawl. And right now, that's what we're heading for.
Yeah, round one was breakfast. They sat down with some crumpets and some tea, took it a bit peacefully and slowly just to get the day started. But now we're into the real working day where things are kicking off, at least in the second round, as you say. It is out on the roam. It is being able to run a spiral and shoot someone outside the window, for crying out loud. They are definitely giving them trouble both in and outside the map. You got Nate still playing downstairs with the pulse. Let's not forget about either. Anyone that pushes into that east side is going to get picked up and likely fed back to the rest of the team. How they adapt is what I'm then looking for. But let's not forget, this is the top floor. We're looking at focusing on lobby right now. That's where the site is, but we're still trying to press and take control of the top floor inside the first 2 minutes or so. Doki brings down Sloth as he was trying to challenge onto that angle. So it looks like Cowana are going to have to try and make this happen without any top floor control. And I think we know how that tends to go. In goes Kenny, going hyper deep on this one, trying to challenge inside a bathroom, but Doki shuts down an arc kick. Kenny finds his second in the round, but no one else on Cowana has managed to achieve a kill for themselves just yet. There is no diffuser in hand as Kenny went a little bit too deep, and now it's going to be a bit of a pause opportunity for the boys, I think, in a 1 versus 3. Nothing to be found, I say that. Turns it into a 3K. Can he go all the way? There is still Nate to go, who was downstairs, and there is Saves. He's now upstairs as well, and they can feed him all this information back and forth. Surely he knows at this point that he has been cornered in. Surely he knows there is a gunfight to take, but looks like he's not going to. 15 seconds to go, being tagged out from towards yellow, or at least near vending, not going to find himself going down. A slither of HP, a single bullet will be enough, and Saves lurking around the corner is enough. Down goes Kendrew, and despite that heroic 3K, it still turned into a win.
A great attempt by Kendrew, it's fair to say. He found himself 3 on the round, pushed aggressively into sight, but then just unable to play up onto that top floor. Nath playing a smart game. He had the heartbeat scanner in hand. It was important, it was imperative almost that he kept himself alive so that they had that up-to-date information on Kendrew's location. So he just moved around, ring around the roses, dropped the hatch, got himself down to piano, and just keeps feeding that information back in that allows Saves to step up with confidence and take that final shot. But what a game that we've got on our hands here already, Des. We're 1-1. There's no advantage to be found. There's no quarter asked or given. These two are going hard for this victory.
The site may as well not have existed there, Ace. That just turned into an out-and-out death match across the top floor, at least somewhat on the ground floor as well. Even had Nath playing downstairs on that pulse at the same time. So the full width and breadth of the map being used here to some capacity, at least in what is turned very quickly into a battleground. Nothing else really to expand on, I guess, is again off Kendrew there. Bearing in mind the change that he's made. When he was on Na'Vi previously, he tweeted earlier saying, it's going to be really weird stepping back in to play against my old lineup here. He was stepping in as more of a supportive role. But in that round then, he was the one charging inside, picking up the kills for his team, even being on that Ayana, who already does so much in a round that we spoke about earlier on today a few times. Nays, the Gone 6, the constant drone decoys that you can bring out. She brings so much to the table, and he's already managing to run inside and find frags with her as well. The man's basically turned into a one-man army or a one-man team, at least in that round.
Well, it's absolutely no surprise to see the rising popularity of Iana, as you say, with just that expanded inventory and so many options being brought to the table inside of one operator. So Kendrew putting it to great use there. We'll see if he can do the same again, maybe even to greater effect this time around. Now, interestingly, the thing straight away catching my eye, there's two things particularly. There's Blur on the Vigil. I always like to see a Vigil and see what they can do. I talk about Vigil quite often as being a sort of a selfish operator. I don't like to say that as if the player is being selfish. What I mean by that is they don't offer anything to the team beyond reinforcements, and it's a reinforcement pool now, so they're not even bringing 2 of those specifically. You know, your Vigil really does have to get kills and waste time to make that contribution for your team. A Jaeger brings his ADSs, he puts them down, he contributes, and then if he goes off and gets something else, fantastic. Whereas Vigil, that is his primary function. So Blur had a good week, had a good play day last time around, so could well get out and just play that unpredictable role. As you've said, Na'Vi have been moving around the map very well. They've been dropping floor to floor, up and down, very unpredictable, and that's one of the things I like about Consulate. I know, some people say that it's a little bit sort of linear, a little bit narrow, but I find that the movement, because of all the staircases and hatches, resolves that problem for me, and I think it is a fascinating one to watch.
I like how they've adapted and brought along the Warden here as well. An operator that I think when he first came out brought a lot of fanfare, like, whoa, you can deal with flashes and smokes. No way, that's cool. it's definitely kind of coming into a niche where a lot of teams are bringing him along when you see the Ying being brought along, when that was in the meta. But here, knowing there are 4 smokes on side of Cowana, this could turn out to be the big brain pick they've been looking for as a way to deal with the aggression, the stealth plants are going to come out through smoke, so on and so forth. It's got to work out for them, and Save's being sat so far back, he's going to play in this long-range laser beam, just waiting for him to step inside with the smokes, feel confident, and then realize they've been had. It's a ruse. There is a warden sat at the back waiting for you, ready.
You can see there the Selma device just being used to remove that entire panel there of the reinforcement dropping away. Sloth and Blur did exchange some shots, so Sloth needs to be extremely careful here. Blur has got himself into a tough spot as he has been downed, possibly going to be picked up now, back onto 20 health. Nath doing his job there, helping his teammate back up. He's just keeping himself nice and deep on the Echo. He's covering off the potential flank down the spiral stairs, but will also then have himself active later in the round for the camera. Of course, Echo gets more and more powerful as the round goes on, so important to ensure that he's kept in a safe location to be able to deny those potential plant attempts. Now, Gorgona just looking to check those yellow stairs, potentially get a bit of information out. Sloth is dicing with death here, Des. He's going to lose his head one of these days, but today is not that day. He's taking heads and he removes saves, secretly gets in with a kill onto Kendrew, but they are too late to stop the plant going down, and Arkic successfully activating the diffuser. Does just leave himself prone, leaves himself exposed, and Blur can finish him off. That leaves us 4 versus 3. There is a lot of killing to be done here before we can go anywhere near that diffuser, and they are raining in on both sides. 20 seconds left for Na'Vi here. Doki goes straight out the window like Superman and takes down Gorgona on the way to the ground, and that allows Na'Vi to get in and disable the diffuser. A successful retake, which is one of the most difficult in Siege, Des. Na'Vi are here to play.
Beautiful from Doki as well. The presence of mind to sprint up yellow stairs, get yourself to the window, and not only cover the longer angles that we saw. Again, forget which team it was. The team lost this longer angle the other day. In fact, it was Secret versus G2 when Sleben against Citizen. Sleben was on the long angle, deep outside, and unfortunately managed to kill Citizen to close things out in one of those rounds for them. I think we were expecting the same thing there, or at least Doki was, but still throws himself out the window with the idea that there is someone on the stairs somewhere, goes for the fight, picks it up. That was the round saver for them. Otherwise, that longer angle comes in. You can't safely defuse, and that would have been the round going over to Cowana. So a hero play from Doki there, really good game sense. And I think at this point, Cowana are now sick and tired of him playing on this top floor. It's twice they've been able to unseat him and make him uncomfortable. They're bringing the Jackal along and saying, we need to get Doki off that top floor because he is giving us one hell of a headache. My only concern is in that last round, he ran up the stairs. He wasn't there the whole time. He'd already backed away before. He just took advantage of the chaos to then make the move and put himself in a more favorable position.
Big moves coming out from Na'Vi, as you say, some big brain players, a lot of unpredictability, a lot of change throughout the round, and they're adapting well here on the defense. They need to get themselves at least another couple here. They want to be going into the half at 4-2, I would suggest, so they're carrying a nice little advantage into that attack so they can start to really apply some pressure. But Cowana, I'm sure, will have more to say about this before the day is done. So we're heading upstairs now to the top floor. We're going to go all the way up to console. So it looks like we're heading towards a yellow stairs take very quickly. So we'll expect to see a lot of utility being dumped into those yellow stairs to try and force Blur away. Ultimately followed generally by a frag grenade, and it's Blur's job to get himself out of the way before that is the case. And as you can see, that is exactly what he needs to do as the onslaught begins on yellow stairs, and piece after piece after piece of utility rains in on top of him, and then comes the frag grenade. He stays put. He's trying to take the fight onto Skylight. Meanwhile, Doki takes a fight onto an Arkic and wins it. That puts the ace in the dirt, so there will be no hard breach in this round. They will have to live with what they've got. Not the end of the world up on the top floor, but Cowana might just need to revert to plan B here if they were reliant on one of those Selma devices.
Oh, Blur clearly having watched back that last game from Rogue, taking some inspiration from Lord Leon Gods himself, who played so well on the yellow stairs. When they had the Wamai and the Jaeger combo, they were not being unseated by anything Vitality could throw at them. Same story here, and that Aruni laser gate's only helping even more because now they can't get drones inside there. They can't get additional utility inside there, assuming they have any, which they don't. it just makes it an absolute nightmare for the attackers to do anything here towards yellow stairs. Now the real hard part becomes we don't have any utility left to play behind. Do we now rotate and push admin and just pray we can win gunfights on the entry? What about if they redeploy any utility over that way? Are we screwed? That's the way this could play out. So it's really limited Coawana's options here. Well played by Na'Vi.
Nith limits them yet further with a headshot onto Grizzly. So we find ourselves now 5 versus 3. Blur on low health. Nith finding himself a second onto Sloth, and things are unraveling quickly for Cowana here. But Gorgona steps into the breach and starts to just claw Na'Vi back in. 4 versus 2. It is all down to Kendrew and Gorgona, and right now Cowana, they're going to be hoping that Kendrew can find another one of those hero moments where he can just burst into sight and take a few players with him. And there goes one as he finds a headshot onto Saves. However, Nath, he's going to down his compatriot Gorgona as he sends him into an early slumber, and Nath finds another onto Kendrew. What a round for the new guy as he shuts down Cowana, and that is Na'Vi taking a commanding lead here, 3-1, and certainly looking like the more effective team. I think Cowana are starting to realise that they are in a match here, Des.
I think many actually probably who are watching this stream aren't 100% aware of exactly who Nate is. It's a player that we've had in the UK scene for a long time. And we've seen him dance around teams like Fierce, for example. We know that he's always been really good friends with a lot of the guys on Na'Vi, for example. And there was a question for the longest time of, why isn't he joining a larger team? He was on M&M for a good amount of time. He played on Crazy in their old CL iteration. And there was, at least as what I heard, was floating around the kind of EUL conversations for a while, but didn't jump at the right time, or didn't jump at what he felt was the wrong time for him. Now that he's found a home on Na'Vi, there's big things expected of him in this season. Last I recall, he was the player who dealt Na'Vi, or Eminem, I think at the time, a really ugly blow. 17 kills, was it, on Villa, crouch walking around, dismantling a top tier 1 team that had just won like the Tokoname finals?
Yep.
Do you remember those days?
I certainly do.
Absolutely gave him something to remember, that's for sure.
Certainly did. It's hard to forget. I'm sure. I'm absolutely certain of that now. Hard to forget right now for Cowana is the last 3 rounds as they came out strong and started things off with a win down in Garage, managed to get in, get control, get the diffuser on the ground. But since then, it has been a slippery slope towards defeat in this half. They are now 3-1 behind. Only one more round for Na'Vi will guarantee that they go into the second half of this with an advantage. And as you can see, they're just moving around the map very quickly with a lot of confidence at this point. We've already commented on it so far. Doki has had a field day just relocating himself, moving around. He's now on that Aruni, which is another operator that can move very quickly, has the option to open up rotates. Let's not forget that's the special melee that she's got, whereby she can punch holes in soft walls. So 3 or 4 of them, and you've created yourself a rotation hole on the fly. So that gives Doki a lot of options to make a nuisance of himself, to wriggle in and around this map and to just make himself impossible to pin down.
What I really like about Na'Vi's playstyle so far is that they've actually just let Cowana do what they want. You want to try and take yellow, you try and take yellow. You want to plant inside Garage, you plant inside Garage. But the retake or the reaction replays coming out of Na'Vi afterwards have been wonderful. So although it feels like probably to Cowana that they're in control of the ones dictating where the action happens, Na'Vi are just stonewalling them at every opportunity once they do actually make those plays. It's almost like a bit of a trap being sprung in a sense. As soon as they start to feel comfortable, Cowana, and like things are going right, Na'Vi just shut it down on the other side, and it's really quite incredible to see. Showing a lot of maturity as a team, which I think is what we saw coming out of them against Train Hard as well. You saw the difference there of a new, fresh team that's still kind of trying to find their way in the world versus a team like Na'Vi who just look far more composed on that map. I'm really glad to see it's carrying across here. And clearly, Kendra is channeling some of that Na'Vi spirit himself. 7 kills for himself here across 5 rounds.
I'm really enjoying seeing what Nath is bringing to the table this Playday. We've seen him bring in those sort of information-based operators. We've seen him on Pulse. We've seen him on Echo. But he's still 6 kills to only 1 death to his name. He's having a fantastic game so far. And that's effectively inside of 4 rounds, really. I know we're in round 5 here, but there's still 5 players on the board for Cowana, so there could be further kills to come for him. So it really is great plays from Nath. Doki's going to step up with that kill onto Sloth to level things away. And Dorky's been doing very well. It wasn't the entry this time. Kendrew got that on her, but Dorky's still getting that first kill for his team each time and really getting out there again and mixing things up in the round, not allowing Cowana to sit back and be comfortable. Now Saves is getting aggressive up towards that double door. He doesn't want anybody being able to push in from there, so he's just going to hold himself next to the closet, keep his angle on that main door, and just wait for anybody to peek their head out.
Oh, I mean, speaking of peeking out, there you go. The attempt comes in and Anarchic collects one onto Sage for free. True freebies, he tries to step his way out and find something for them. Doki's going to try the double peek in this case. Nope, steps straight back in. But Anarchic has double baited him here. He's already got inside. He's going for a plan. You've got Kenny on the window. It's old friends against each other. Kendrew comes out on top on this one. Doesn't even get to finish him off. Anarchic takes that kill away from him. But the 1 versus 4 this time round, Na'Vi have fallen by the wayside. Cowana come out with the better execute. Blur might snatch one back. But at this point, he's got about 20 seconds to collect these kills for himself and get the diffuser off. Something tells me that's simply not going to happen, Ace.
Unlikely at this point. We can see Blur's just hunting around, moves out onto yellow stairs. Surely a matter of time until he gets picked up. It is less than a second from me saying that Gorgona steps out and deletes the man as he moves around those yellow stairs. That's going to be a successful round for Cowana, and we might just be heading towards, I think, what most people at home probably wanted to see, Des, and that could be an even split at the half, and it could be lining us up for one of the true sort of tense games of this stage. If we head into the later stages here and there is only one round separating these and overtime is potentially looming large, then believe me, we will see some real moves to try and put it beyond reach.
I mean, yeah, Kenny's doing the best he can to keep the team going in this one. An interesting 6th pick coming out. Are they going to commit to that? I mean, it would make sense. Think about the number of smokes they've already got with the Twitch and the Ace, and now you bring the Glaz too, and there is no Warden to answer on the other side. Oh, man. We haven't seen this for a while. There was a few people saying when Glaz got a small mini kind of, not so much rework, but a couple of tweaks, a few saying, oh, we're going to see Glaz stepping up a lot more. Didn't really come to be fair. Whereas I think it's, again, one of those operators, we were speaking about Warden earlier on, that in the kind of niche situation can be massive. This could be really high impact if they just spam flashes, smoke, into the site, get the plant down and have the Glaz, especially on Kendrew, who's hitting so many crucial shots so far today on Overwatch. This could be incredible.
And that's it. I mean, those changes to Glaz were to, adjust him into a position whereby he needs to be used as a sniping operator. He's not, just pushing into sight willy-nilly, so to speak. He's having to slow down because his movement will affect his scope. It stops working when he moves. The thermal imaging drops off and then needs to sort of recharge itself to be active again. And it just took away that element, as you commented, Des, when Glaz used to be in the meta particularly. It was basically an entry fragger. You just basically put a couple of smokes in, smoke off 90% of a room, and Glaz could just walk around, just, gunning people at will. So they've removed that element, and I think this time we will see more of that long play. It's the perfect site for it, really. You can get Kendrew just back there on the ramp, up by that car, open up the triple wall, get some smoke grenades in there, and all of a sudden Na'Vi, they have to hide. They have to get themselves out of view, because while stood still with his feet planted on the driveway, Kendrew would potentially run over them like a double-decker bus.
Got to be very mindful, of course, that with the Glaz on side, the one thing you are sacrificing here is the Iana. We've already spoken about how effective she is lately. You do still get the 2 frags, but there's no Gon 6. There's no unlimited number of drones, of course, to bring in with the decoys. Technically not unlimited, but limited to some level. Sloth goes down to a frag coming up by the looks of it. Or was that something else? That's a bit of a questionable one. Down maybe by the C4 and then finished off. Not entirely sure what happened there. Looked like he got down by something or other.
I think it was an impact nade just getting thrown up onto the stairs. I think there was awareness that Sloth had obviously taken a lot of damage on stairs, so it was just sort of put out there with a view to see what they get, and what they got was a Sloth.
I'm just surprised that it did enough damage to finish him off and put him down.
He was very low health already. I don't know if you'd noticed his HP. He was down to about 10 HP. He'd taken shots on yellow stairs already. Doki going big. He's not taking shots. He's dishing them out. He's dishing them out straight into the dome of Anarchic as he finds himself a third on the round. Grizzly comes in and takes a few shots to the body himself, and he's taking more damage now as that smoke canister comes out. There's absolutely no escaping Doki. He just appears like a flash out of the blue and just gets that final kill. 4K on the round, and Na'Vi really asserting some dominance on the defense.
Absolutely. Nate with a 4K in one round, Doki with a 4K another, a brilliant retake in round number 3. They've got loads of cool stuff coming out in this half, actually. Really impressed with what we're seeing from Na'Vi. Absolutely not going to be the end of the world for Cowana, though. I think they'll still be happy with how they perform and getting the 2 rounds that they did. Definitely being given the runaround by Doki on a couple of instances, and now's the time to show what they can do on the defensive side. And it's almost with Kayak gone, they still can't move away from it. Anarchic moving over to play on the Kaid duties, something they relied on so much back when Kayak was on side.
17 kills in 6 rounds there's between Dorky and Nath. They are a dynamic duo. They are having an absolute field day today. There is no stopping them. I've commented, in previous broadcasts about Dorky and how impactful he can be, but that sometimes we don't always see that consistency. Well, Playday 1 to Playday 2, 100% consistent. And, I hope that we see it continue through the season, because he's just such an entertaining player to watch when he's like this, because he's just unpredictable. You can't pin him down. It's like trying to nail jelly to the wall, Des.
Never really goes too well, Ace. I'm pretty sure you're a man who can probably tell us that from experience.
I can't say as I've ever tried. I can't say as that's one I've ever put any time or effort into. And unfortunately for Cowana, that's pretty much exactly what they're having to try to do here. I feel for them.
Well, there's a first time for everything, mate. I'm sure of that. Let's see what work the Clash can bring out as well. For those who don't know, back in the good old days, man, I'm thinking like Burning Fox's days. Yeah. Grizzly was one of the Clash players that we had in Yukin. Rendy, who used to be on the team, was someone I remember playing Buck all the time. Cowana now takes that role. There's a lot that kind of seems to persevere amongst members changing inside of Cowana or Burning Foxes, whatever iteration they've been through. Never really seems to leave the team's identity, does it?
Certainly doesn't. And right now, the thing in the team's identity, unfortunately, is Na'Vi imprinting heavy losses on them repeatedly, time and time again. Now, look at Dorky. 30 seconds in, he's got boots on the ground, he's in admin, he's using the IQ, and he's just sprinting across that top floor looking to clear it out. Na'Vi not messing about at all. They know they need to clear out top and mid floors so that they can start pushing towards the garage. Now, Dorky just using that IQ scanner to try and clear out some gadgets. I think potentially could be locating one of those yokai drones or a C4 maybe, but one way or another he manages to get it taken out. He opens up that soft wall, which will allow him to push through into console, and then that's Grizzly forced all the way back with an Arctic as well. They could be ready to drop that hatch potentially if needs be, just burn as much time as possible, and then the hatch is soft underneath them. There we go. Kendrew is in position, on cue, ready to blow that hatch out, and they will drop safely back to site.
And there we go. The play is complete. They only lost took about 90 seconds or so. Grizzly not yet backing away. I mean, why would he when he's got so much safety in front of him, got the 3 reinforced walls behind? He is a bit of a fortress here. They'll have to commit something to force him out unless he wants to get away before it becomes a concern. And there we go. Would have heard the sound of breaching charges on the wall behind him, and knows that promotes or creates a vulnerability in the setup. Chooses to get himself back down to site. So all in, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes wasted, not a single person lost. You've only just given control over to Na'Vi and left them with 60 seconds to get their setup done and start thinking about an execute. That's a good roam coming out of Cowana.
There go the Selma devices, just opening up the breach. You can see 2 holes are clearly open there, secretly with diffuser in hand, ready to try and go in and get that diffuser on the ground. I'm not sure exactly how free the movement is through that right-hand breach, but Grizzly's taken a lot of damage on the Clash there, which is now going to have to be very, very careful. Even a slight angle onto his rear or flank side is going to mean death. Doki gets in, and that's actually the opening kill at 2.5 minutes there. We have really toyed around with each other before getting down to the crux of the round here. Doki finds himself a second before being traded out by an Arctic, but time could be a factor here. 10 seconds to go. Secretly really needs to stick this late execute. There will not be chance for another attempt. Saves, gets an Arctic on the rear stairs. Kendrew comes out to do what he can, but surely will be shut down here. Finds another one at the black car. You can't melee that anymore, Kendrew. You've got to get on to electronically diffuse it, and as attempted, Blur, he's going to shut that down. I don't think that was the attempt by Kendrew, but it certainly looked like the old animation for a second.
Definitely not the intent. And again, another almost hero play coming out of Kendrew, but not quite enough. Na'Vi looking as coordinated on their attacks as they did on their defense. And you know what I love the most about this? The number of times that we said something to the effect of like, okay, got to sit up again now. I was enjoying myself there. Like, notes, yes. The number of times in the past we'd say about Na'Vi that they were kind of lacking consistency. One map you'd see them be at every single window, killing the other team. I always think of when Joe first joined them on Clubhouse in game one. But like a totally different team. You start getting into the further few weeks, they've been playing on the Maestro, for example. They never really managed to set into an identity. They never really had great consistency amongst them. This game and last game, admittedly, Train Hard is still putting things together. But now that we're seeing it against a team like Cowana as well, I think we're really starting to see a new form Na'Vi taking place here that just look like a good team, dare I say. You don't need to go any further than that and say it's some specific thing that's looking great and that's what's really making them stand out. Everything just feels like it fits together really well.
It is. It's working. I mean, you look at what's changed. You've got Secretly and Nath coming in. Nath's had a fantastic game today so far. Very much involved, getting the frags, but also dishing that information out. Played that 2v1 against Kendrew with saves. Played it beautifully. That wasn't about the kills. So he's been playing his role fantastically well. But then also Secretly has been doing a real job on the quiet, getting in there, getting access to Garage there, bang on point, ready to go in with that diffuser and get the plant down. And again, just gelling and functioning really well within the team. And right now, Na'Vi have got themselves a commanding lead here against Cowana. And I mentioned it at the beginning, Des, and I will repeat what I said about coaches being in place. But you have to look at that map choice potentially when one team, even if it's 4 members versus 4 members, has beaten the other 7-0 within the past 8 days. You've got to question that choice of coming here. And right now, Cowana look like they are struggling on Consulate a little bit.
They are a little bit, and now you're going to this wacky wild site that I love seeing so much. The one thing we were concerned about when a team played it last week, they didn't have a Maestro or a Valkyrie or any kind of vision as to what was going on inside of Tellers. So when the execute did come through, when teams were looking to play around it, there was no calling of where C4 should go. There was no real knowledge at all. Whereas here, at least, you're playing behind not just the Pulse, you've also got the Mozzie to maybe steal some cams. You're also looking towards the Valkyrie to maybe feed some things out for them. And beyond even that, we're looking at an extended hold on the top floor. So again, looking to make full use of the entire map here to waste some time and force it so that that execute when it comes through is against the clock, and that becomes your greatest enemy.
Archives and Tellers, not a site that we see too often. It's split between 2 floors. So you've got the mid-floor of Tellers and then you've got the half of the basement effectively taken up by Archives. I absolutely hate it when that happens, but we wouldn't expect to see it here, generally speaking. But those window frames, they can be notorious. So Doki's drone just bouncing off and it just ends up wasting a lot of time. But I tell you what, they don't need the drones to get the information on Sloth's location. Completely shut down there. Saves gets in with a kill. No, sorry, reverse of that. Grizzly, it is who finds Saves, and we find ourselves now 4 versus 4. That's a great trade out there for Cowana. They really did not need to find themselves at serious man disadvantage. But look at this. Nath is already heading towards Yellow Stairs. There's less than halfway into the round, and that top floor is almost completely in the possession of Na'Vi. They just need to clear out the last from the top of Yellow, and that is Gorgona on the Aruna. If they get that job done, they are a long way towards winning this round. Doki's already heading down towards Visa to start putting pressure on that mid-floor. They want to clear out Tellers, and then they will attempt to plant. They'll try and get up on top of one of the marble plinths or the desk that's in there to avoid nitros coming in from Archives, which will be one of the defensive strategies of Cowana. But right now, they might not need that defensive strategy as Gorgona manages to get the kill onto Nathan. Until vertical control is properly gained, it's very difficult to get this diffuser down, he says.
Surely he knows. Surely there's someone able to respond to the C4 up through the floor, but no, absolutely not. He gets away with it, and there's a trade elsewhere. In fact, 2 kills fly back the way of Na'Vi, and now it looks like the boys in the defense are sat downstairs and arcing out towards Spiral, asking questions of, we need to be able to bring this back. How do we fight? Kendrew says we C4 the living hell out of them. Doki goes down. It's into a 1 versus 2. Blur, a player that we have heaped so much praise on as being the stable member of the team in the last year or so, has got it all to do in a 1 versus 2 against a Kendrew that means business. He tried to push. He missed the shots. Now going to push in. He hits the deck. Brings down an arc. He gets a triple kill. But Kendry's going for the defuse. Can he see the angle? Yes, he can. Blur does it in the 1 versus 2. Shuts down his old teammate. Na'Vi put themselves in the front even further.
Na'Vi absolutely flying at this point, and how well played from Blur, just hitting the deck at the right time, making the shots difficult and finding that man to bring it back to a 1v1, and then it was a simple one tap down onto Kendry, and that, Des, is what comes from thorough preparation. Those holes had already been opened ahead of time to allow A, pressure to be applied to site, but then B, dual purpose to allow exactly that, an overwatch onto a planted diffuser, and Blur used it to absolute perfection. Look at those kills now, reigning in 28 kills between the top 3 rated players on the side of Na'Vi. Doki, Blur, Nath, all getting in on the action and all just teaming up to dominate Cowana here, and this has been a rough day on Consulate for them. As you say, just, you know, really, if you're maintaining that top floor control, it should be difficult to get the diffuser down in Tellers, but once again, secretly with the game sense, just reads the situation and knows that Gorgona is too far away to make an impact, so just gets that diffuser down and just flips the game on its head.
Touching a little bit on that final play too, we spoke a lot yesterday, or not last yesterday, I think it was actually last week. It feels so close, it was on Friday. The number of teams that were looking to still contest in 1v1s when it really didn't need to be done. And I think actually it was in G2's game when we had constant people trying to challenge Citizen in a 1vx all the time. It was always becoming 1v1s. Anarchic there pushing in to go for the 1v1. You know he's in copy. You know that he needs to have control of vending machine for him to be able to challenge vertically onto the defuse of Kenny. Why push him? Why not sit back, play behind long desk, and wait for him to come to you, or play behind front desk, whatever you want to call it? I'm not quite sure what Anarchic's reasoning was for going to challenge him there, because you knew that if you lost that 1v1, the round was done. You'd be much better off sitting back and letting him push into you than looking to go aggressive, or maybe they were afraid of alternative angles. I don't know, but I don't think going for the 1v1 there was the right play, and ultimately it puts Cowana at match point. 6-2 to Na'Vi. They have ran away with this game and are quickly, in my opinion at least here, Ace, becoming one of the strongest teams in EUL. If Doki can keep up this kind of performance, the rest of the team is only going to rise further around him.
Well, the thing with Doki is look at the confidence in him now. He's gone in as Amaru, straight into admin. Within 30 seconds of the round, he had face checked half of the top floor and also down the visa stairs, come back up and continued across the rest of top floor. So inside of a minute, Doki has effectively covered off the top floor and probably about a third of the mid floor as well, without anybody else really needing to support him in that. He's just gone in and got it done. There will have been drawn information. Blur gets a view of the gun barrel there, but just can't quite pick up the shots. He just forces the man to dip himself away into a tighter angle. But Na'Vi just look unstoppable right now, Des, and you're absolutely right to wax lyrical about them. They are exciting, they are engaging, and I can't wait to see them play other teams inside of the EUL.
Well, Anarchic, sorry, is being pressured out here quite a bit, both vertically and laterally, it feels like, as well as Blur has now got himself into a spot where he can contest inside of Piano. Well placed nade over this wall, assuming there are no ADSs stacked up in there, could be, well, unwelcomed by Anarchic, is all I can explain it by so far. I think they are trying to force them out of here. They have control of Piano, which is what they've been looking for. They could just leave him in here and say, you know what, you stay in your little box, mate. We're going to worry about what's going on the site. Grizzly finds one, but Secret is going to push down, trade him out just a second later. So things are now equal at 4-4 with 60 seconds still to play. They've got the breach opened up. They can start thinking about this plant. But again, in the back of your mind, you're always wondering, Anarchic with that shotgun, can we deal with that?
Nath just gets in and uses that soft breach to get the wall open. He's looking to clear off any utility that will be preventing them from opening that main breach. We can see a hole has been opened in the right-hand side of it. Kendrew just dishing out the smokes from behind that mirror, but they've not been all too successful at keeping Na'Vi out of the garage so far and finding themselves 4 versus 3 secretly. Once again, going in and getting that diffuser down. His stats are going to be great for playing the objectives, but Kendrew with a big big hero play down to the garage. Breach shuts down secretly, wheels around and finds himself a second, and that just spins the round on its head. But Nath with a vertical kill onto Kendrew brings us back to 1v1, but the time ticks away. He doesn't have the diffuser, and the round is played out perfectly by Cowana, who just watched that sand tick through the hourglass, Des, and they put another round on the board. 3-6 now. Could the fight back be on?
Oh, I mean, Kendrew with a hero play like that, walking through the smoke saying, I don't care if anyone's watching me, I'm pushing through, I'm killing the guy who's planting, I'm killing the guy on yellow stairs, I'm taking this round into my own hands, and pulls it off wonderfully. That's the beautiful stuff that you want to see. That at least keeps Cowana in the game for another round. But you've got to look at the scoreboard and ask, what more can you do? He's on 13 kills. He's matched Doki as a non-entry fragger in this round for them. The rest of the team needs to be keeping something up here as well. Sloth hasn't turned on the way that we normally expect him. Gorgona will normally be joining Sloth somewhere near the top. It's definitely a reversal to what we expected out of Cowana given last week's play, but maybe they're just running into a brick wall here that is Na'Vi and can't find a consistent solution around them.
As you say, they're just missing a couple of frags across the board. That's the reality. Grizzly came out last week with 12, 12 kills to 5 deaths. It's just a very different picture that's being painted here. And, you've got to look at, and this is a little bit of what we said last week, was, Cowana, yes, they played Rogue. Yes, Rogue showed us a much better performance this week. But I think they would say themselves that they didn't play to the best of their ability in Playday 1. And so Cowana, right place, right time, and they took advantage of it, and they played fantastically well to do so, and they got the win. But they are coming up against a different beast here in a Na'Vi team that are ready to play and are ready to compete with the best in the league, and they really are putting Cowana through the ringer. Now, I think Cowana, they have got the ability to come back here. They've got the ability to have upsets up and down this league, but right now it is not going to be an easy task because Na'Vi, they have got the bit between the teeth and they just seem ready to win this one.
The IQ on side, it shouldn't be too difficult to dispatch that Valkyrie camera that just got thrown outside, along with any others. Time will tell, of course. Doki previously was just storming straight into the top 4 and using it more for watching out for things like C4s, of which there are 2 in this round, one of them being on Kendrew on that pulse. Really, really falling in love with that operator in this game. On the other side, it was Nath playing it downstairs, if you recall, but it seems like for both teams at least, there is quite a lot of priority on bringing that operator in the majority of these rounds.
Not ideal placement of the Valkyrie cam there, just getting a little bit blocked on the view. Can't see the main door, can see up to the upper level, so it may well be that it's been put that far back to keep it safe, and they're just looking to keep a view on those top floor windows. But if they were looking for the main door, it's not visible, and it has taken a second cam to get that viewpoint. Now, we can see 5 versus 5 halfway through the round. Na'Vi still not in control of that top floor, not really in control of mid floor, and Arctic just looking to keep people away from the windows, which is exactly what he achieves. Now then, are we going to see an attempt at a rappel into Piano here? They're going to have to clear a few operators out, particularly an Arctic could be troublesome. Kendrew downstairs as well. They need to be very aware of Kendrew down in the basement. Obviously, the nitro denial will be possible if they go into Piano, and once again, those window frames just causing a nuisance there with the nade bouncing back this time rather than the drone, but one way or another, it's not going where it should be.
No, it's definitely slowing them down as well. They forgot to take the ADS in here as well when the frag does eventually come out. One does finally fly through. Not only killing one, mind you, and something else comes in. I think it was the air jab that came through there for a second, but not going to connect, not going to go off. It is just absolute chaos trying to get control of Antechamber. Doki was going in for this one, but he gets downed. On the ground, at least, is Nath, I think. Sorry, not Doki in this case. Diffuser's on the ground. Anarchic still holding tight here. Someone, please, stop the man. And you think Nath will be getting himself back up. I imagine he will be, and just... Oh, no, of course, he got removed. No, you can't. You're in a spot where he's stuck on the ground waiting and holding, and he knows he can only watch as the round falls apart around him. It's a 1 versus 4 for Secretly all by himself. This one looks done and dusted. Gorgona with a triple kill. That's going to drag us through yet another round. It's 6-4. Can you smell the comeback, Ace?
Here we go. This is the matchup that we were expecting, Des. We did not think we'd be seeing it at 6-2, but Cowana, they have found a way. They're fighting the way back into this one, and they are desperate to get themselves to overtime and get the opportunity to secure 2 points and keep themselves up towards the top of the league. If they can secure 2 points, I think it will leave them in second place at a guess. BDS. I think there's only BDS that have picked up 2 wins at the minute. And of course, Na'Vi, they will be going up to the top spot if they can get the win here, as our live rankings up in the top right of your screen show you. So there's a lot to play for, Des. There's a lot to play for, and there's not a lot of time left to play for it. We are coming ever closer to the conclusion here. 6-4 now. There are only 2 regulation rounds left before we head into overtime. And Na'Vi, they're going to be very keen to get this closed out and get the maximum 3 points, but they must be starting to feel that things are slipping a little. The last 2 rounds now going in the direction of Cowana, and this time they're going to have to attack onto Archives and Tellers, I believe it is. Now then, we saw this back in round 8, and it was a great round from Na'Vi, if you remember. It came down to a blur 1 versus 2, but the way they got the diffuser down, somewhat unexpectedly, secretly just managing to pick exact right moment to get in there. Cowana unaware that it was happening. It was spot on. Now we'll see if Na'Vi can find a repeat.
I mean, you can't obviously count always on a 1v2 being consistent, but you can count on the same game state, i.e. the same plan comes through the execute. It's on Cowana to be the ones that adapt and don't let it happen in this round. And given how the last couple have gone, you touched on the kind of momentum side of things. It's a big deal. Look at most best of 5s through history when there's been a reverse sweep. Players will always say, and in fact, from SI last year, SSG versus NIP said you can point out the exact round in that game on Clubhouse when our mental just broke and we weren't the same team anymore. It's exhausting to play long games, and once the morale is gone, it can be really, really hard to get that back on side, especially with the high the other team is riding on. It can happen. And if this ends up going into overtime, wouldn't be too surprised. I did think it's felt very one-sided by Na'Vi so far, but Cowana showing some fight back.
Sloth just playing inside of that small kitchen area there, just on the mirror, looking to hold them out of admin for as long as possible. We saw last time around, round 8, how important the verticality is when attacking this site. If you've got that vertical superiority, not just to get the diffuser down, but to keep it down can be very, very important. So right now, Cowana, they need to fight harder for that top floor control than they did last time around. Blur is looking to get into admin. Nath is just out there on the balcony looking for a push into meeting, but needs to be very careful because he's got Kendrew underneath. Now it's actually going to be Gorgona that finds him at the top of Visa stairs, completely unaware of that. Got to ask questions, Des. As you say, the momentum and the mentality can just shift in the middle of games here, and where Na'Vi have seemed so confident going in on the attack and they've been aware of the surroundings, that time Nath completely caught out by Gorgona.
Man, it's the small things as well. You look at it and go, oh, it's 1 kill, it's a 4 versus 5, they can still do this. But no, think about the gadgets that you lose as a result. Think about the drones that also go offline here. He's got 1 out in field, 1 did die, sure. It's still something, but now they're potentially losing out a second. No, Save's going to win that firefight. Down goes Grizzly. 4 versus 4, things are now more imbalanced, but it's always more painful to lose an attacker if they haven't used their utility, which I imagine Nate wouldn't have at the time.
Doki finds a kill onto Sloth, so that's going to be the kitchen mirror cleared out. Doki just moving around, make sure there's not a second man in there. Pre-fires his corners, finds that there is not. Just removes all the utility as he's passing. Keep those mechanical skills sharp as he hits them on the way past, but no real necessity to clear that out. But you never know what's going to happen later in the round. Look at that from Gorgona. Double kill in the round and 2 great unexpected kills from positions that Na'Vi have just not found him in. Now Blur opening up that floor further. He's going to find another here. He's going to find another. He peeks away at the wrong time, and Saves manages to get in and take the head off Gorgona. That is potentially going to open up a plant for Na'Vi, but with 12 seconds left, they only get 1 shot at this. Secretly, he needs to pick the right place and the right time, but it's not going to matter as Saves and Blur find the remaining kills, and Na'Vi come out the successors against Cowana.
Oh, it's probably going to have some throwbacks to UKIN for Cowana, I imagine. Their journey into EUL started in UKIN. They lost out to Na'Vi in the semi-finals twice, in part thanks, of course, due to a lower bracket knockout, and then made it through the open quals, through Challenger League and into EUL. But Na'Vi for now will stay a stain on their record, a reminder that there is always someone out there ready to put them back, put them down, and remind them this is a hard fight here in the Top Dogs League. You've got to be ready to bring your best, and although we saw some good stuff out of them, there's still more to come, I feel. Let's definitely remember, though, how good Na'Vi are looking. I am super impressed with what we are seeing across both of these last 2 games. I'm almost in the spot where I'm saying if they don't finish top 4, it is genuinely a surprise to me. Their coordination is phenomenal. The players all look switched on. This is what you want to see out of them.
Yeah, Cowana should not feel bad about taking the loss there. I'm sure they will hit them hard, they're competitive people, but ultimately they played a completely different team in Rogue to Na'Vi last week. Probably the biggest contrast that we've seen between two performances, to be fair. Na'Vi, Blur, Nath, Dorke just running around the map, killing at will, secretly. Fantastic support player, getting that diffuser down time and time again, finding a way, and then saves coming in, and for me playing the ultimate flex role there, just doing whatever was needed of him, whether it be cleaning a round up, whether it be feeding information back. Great plays from Na'Vi.
Absolutely was. I'm sure the desk have also got their own thoughts on this game as well. Let's go over to them and get their thoughts on it.
Thanks so much, Des and Ace. So lovely to see Des